Hey guys, I'm Lemorne. I'm here at the Echo in LA, hanging out with Rob from Front Row Live. Yeah, hello.
What's up, guys? Rob here, Front Row Live Entertainment. I'm hanging out here at the Echo with Lamorn, and I'm so excited, man. You're about to wrap the Forever Tour. This is like leading up to the end of this tour, and you've had such an incredible, pretty much month and a half. Like, what has this experience been like for you? First ever headline tour for you.
I didn't know what to expect going into it, and I'd say it's been better than I expected. Honestly, I was a little afraid that I wasn't going to be able to handle the touring thing. Honestly. But going into it, I was like, oh, okay, this is kind of fun.
Yeah.
Going and visiting so many places so quickly in a row. It's like a new state every night. That's it's fun. Like a lot of places I've never been, a lot of regions I've never been, and this is like the one time that I get to experience all those places for the first time.
Yeah.
But I think doing it again, I can go back and like get a little more of it because some places I only get to spend like 2 hours in, really. But yeah, overall it's been awesome. It's been
Now,
awesome.
prior to this, you were doing like one-off shows with opening up for other artists as well. So, how did those kinds of shows and experiences kind of helped you not only just prep for this tour, but also like kind of like take over the stage once you hit it?
Doing all the dead mouse shows and kind of getting thrown into it that way, it was good because I had to like put together my Lemorne setup and kind of get it going quick and didn't have much time to like think twice about it. So it was I'd say you know kind of got to get the cobwebs off quick and luckily I think everything's gone smoothly, including all those shows and up through now. But yeah, like feels good. It feels good, and it feels good to get all these shows now under my belt. Really, quickly in a row. It's kind of like stop getting nervous and yeah, you can just kind of relax and then go up on stage and do the thing and have more fun. Um, so yeah, I think that was good to have all that experience prior to this.
Now, this tour was in support of the debut album on Mousetrap Records, and tell me a little bit about that record, that creative process, diving into it. Like, did you come into it knowing what you were creating, like these 13 tracks, or is this something that kind of like as soon as you started writing one, everything else just kind of aligned for you?
Yeah, I think it was more of a like I didn't initially think I was writing an album, but it was kind of intertwined with my last project, my like kind of long EP, um, which was a lot of the stuff that kind of started me on Mousetrap. And so I was starting this album, kind of like on the tail end of that as I was getting ready to release that and not really knowing what I was going to put it together as.
Yeah.
But then, I kind of spent a year or I don't even know how long. Yeah, like a year and a half kind of going through some different chunks of like different sounds and all that and scrapping stuff and keeping stuff and reworking things, um, and then kind of ending up with an album at the end and making it seem more cohesive and finding all the little themes that I feel like I could kind of turn into a cohesive piece of work, which is something I always wanted to do. So yeah, it's been fun, getting that done and then doing the whole like tour album cycle and getting started on that because yeah, it's cool.
I feel like it's scary releasing that debut album, but it's also scary trying to figure out and creating your own lane, especially in an industry where like there's so much new music all the time. So you want to find what's different with you, right? So like, what was that process like for you to like kind of discover what your sound, what Lemorne is all about, and like what was it about the sound that you realized like this is it?
Yeah, I don't know if I ever have had that moment of like, oh, this is my sound. I think well, from making friends with a lot of producers and like kind of seeing how that all goes, just like people making music. I think you kind of take all of the influence that you've had in your life and once you get skilled with the software
Yeah.
and all that, and kind of get all the basics down, and move into the more, advanced, just being able to put together a whole song. It's like you make your own habits and kind of like have your own spin on, or I guess your own idea of like what how the influence your influences influence you.
Mhm.
And so I think it's just like people end up having their own fingerprint, you
Yeah.
know, where you can kind of hear all the little bits and pieces. And for me, a lot of that was all the Daft Punk stuff, Maddie Porter, and all. I mean, a lot of newer music too that doesn't have as large of a following as well.
Yeah.
Especially once I figured out that Discover Weekly on Spotify is so good. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think there's just a lot of genres that I kind of bring into that electronic realm, um, and that's kind of the Lamorn thing, I guess. But yeah, it's just kind of, I think, me not really putting any walls up in
Yeah.
terms of what I'm gonna let myself make, and that's what came out. Yeah.
With these 13 tracks, how did you go about as far as the production? Did you come into it with melodies in mind? Did you come into it with tracks already like aligned for you? Like, what was that process like when you started working on this album?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you kind of have the moment of like sitting down, and if you sit down and just like, all right, I'm gonna write an album with
Yeah,
just nothing.
it's never gonna happen.
No, it's never gonna happen. So I think it just took a lot of time of living my life, and learning new things and having experiences, and kind of like along that time just making little bits and pieces of ideas, and then I think for me the thing that works best is kind of having a bunch of scrapped projects
Mm.
that I go back into and like take pieces from, so it's a bit of like sampling myself, um, all these little ideas that never come to fruition.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of been the, I think, root of most of where my recent tracks have come from, especially on the album. Um, it's like reworking. Like I think a lot of them had two or three versions. If you kind of go back in the project files, uh, so yeah, it's kind of uh, it's a messy kind of randomization process that I think I try and throw myself into,
Yeah.
and that yeah, that works best for me.
When it comes to the sound design, you give us so many different styles of sound throughout this entire album. When it comes to the sound design, like which track would you say that like really challenged you to kind of nail the sound that you wanted, or kind of like actually finalize the track?
I think the last track, 11,
Man.
that's my long track.
Yeah.
That one. So it's actually called 11 originally because it was the first thing I made when I upgraded to Ableton 11.
Nice.
And there was a new upright piano patch in like the Ableton instruments, and I was like, oh, upright piano! Like they never had upright pianos, always
That's cool.
grand
New
piano. Yeah,
inspiration.
yeah. And so I made the little piano line at the beginning, just playing it on my MIDI keyboard, and I started playing with some like granular stuff, and that was really it was like a track that I didn't intend to release until the very end, and it ended up being a mixture of four projects, between the intro and then like after the intro and then the like breakdown bridge and the outro. Each one of those was a completely different song
Yeah.
that I kind of built into this one package. So that, yeah, I think that probably took the most hours, like, of all the songs on the album, in terms of just like raw, like sitting down and getting
Yeah.
it done. And I mean, there was a lot of times when I was like, I'm probably never gonna finish that one. Just kind of like, but then I'd go back and listen to. It, I'm like, oh, I like that one, and I like that one. I gotta finish that. Which is the hardest part, is finishing the songs.
Yeah. I feel like it's never done. Like you just kind of have to come to that point where it's like, all right, it's time.
Yeah, I mean, I think the music is, if it's just sitting there on your hard drive, it's like It's just sitting there on your hard drive.
Yeah.
If you want to make music, is I feel like you kind of have to let go of some of that perfection, tendencies that I think a lot of people making music have, and because it's never going to be perfect. That's
Yeah.
fine. And like I think if you go and look through music you like, it's most of it probably isn't totally perfect.
Right.
I mean, maybe some of the really high budget like pop songs are pretty much there. But there's a lot of people working on those. If you're making your own music, it's like it's a very personal kind of imperfect process, I think. So letting go of that and just being like, all right, I'm gonna start putting out songs, and you get them done enough to a point where it feels like it all flows, and you can kind of get the original idea that you wanted across. Yeah, I think that's kind of the best thing to do there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you separate the producer with like the vocalist and the song and the songwriter and the instrumentalist at the same time when you're in the studio creating this?
Um, I think I don't really end up separating it too much. It's kind of like a because every time I sit down to write something or work on an idea, it starts completely different and it takes a completely different path. So it all kind of mixes together, and sometimes I start with a vocal line, sometimes I don't write the vocal line till the very end. Like the vocal line that I have on 11, my long song. I wrote that and recorded it after I had already turned in the whole album. But then other songs, it was kind of like the first thing, like the first track, Forever. Yeah, the title track. That was like the first thing that I wrote of the whole album. That's why I called it that, because it was like, okay, I feel like that's kind of thematically, uh, that's like the thing that started everything and kind of had the theme going. And yeah, I mean that track went through like 4 versions as well, which I'll probably release some of them at some point. I could do like a 28 song album of just edits and old versions and stuff. Um, but yeah, I don't know what I was originally answering.
You got it. You nailed it.
All right, cool.
You nailed it. Now, as far as like production goes, was it simply you doing this entire thing yourself, or did you also collaborate with Deadmau5 in the production side, or did he help you navigate like a way of kind of creating the album the way that you did?
Well, I mean, pretty much from start to finish, it was just me. I had the collaborations with Dash 30 and Molly Otto, who's out there. And so we worked on those, closely together, um, which were actually very inspiring. Uh, I never really collaborated before, but yeah, it was fun to kind of. I mean, I've known Molly for a long time, but I met Dash 30 just like online. He lives in Idaho, and his music really kind of inspired kind of how the album went, and we had a lot of good back and forth, and that song came of it. But anyway, yeah. Uh, so most of the album pretty much was just me start to finish. I mean, yeah, Deadmau5, he didn't really put any hands on stuff on it, but I mean, in terms of like the influence he's had on me over the years, I'd say it's definitely he has his
Just a
has
natural
this,
factor.
yeah. Yeah, it's like so many years of listening to his music and doing his like master class and watching his live streams and stuff and like trying to figure out what he's doing. Um, yeah, I think he had a profound impact on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was that chemistry like between you and Molly as you guys were working on that track that you guys have together? And how do you feel that? What do you feel that you like showed her that you like to do in the studio, and vice versa, like that she showed you?
Yeah, well, we've been together for 4 years, like dating. So, and we were in a band for a long time before that. So I know her very well. Um, she knows me very well, and we've actually found that the best way for us to work on stuff together is in separate rooms, because we're both pretty proficient with like Ableton and stuff,
Yeah.
and so it kind of works better if we like do our own thing, and then instead of being in the same room and like kind of stepping on each other's toes, more so it's like we can she can sit in her studio, I can sit in my studio, and we can kind of like get on a video call and like send um, audio files back and forth, and like send the project file back and forth. Um, and yeah, so that was kind of a cool thing to figure out. I'd say that this was our first like true collaboration where it's definitely like 50-50, in terms of production and the lyric writing and everything, which is cool. It's cool to get that done. And since then, we've been working on other stuff, and lots more where that came from. Um, yeah, a lot more collaborations, I think, in general from me after finishing the songs with Molly and Dash 30, and kind of getting that uh, like success with collaboration. It's a fun thing that I didn't really know existed for me. Yeah.
How would you say that that experience of being in a band prior to this like really helped you kind of be more creative in the studio with your music?
Yeah, I mean, I did a lot of rock music through my teen years, and playing in a lot of different bands, and kind of experiencing different dynamics and trying to write with other people, and some of it being fairly fun and easy, some of it not working, and you know, I think getting all that experience under your belt and kind of like, I don't know if it doesn't feel necessarily like directly learning when you're in the moment, but like as time goes on, you kind of just from all the time spent around it definitely makes a difference, I think. Yeah.
Well, congratulations with this debut album. It's incredible, all 13 tracks. And I love how you close it with such a beautiful track like 11. Um, and I'm sure that now that you kind of get to experience this album live, I feel like it gives you more 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 creativity for your upcoming material, just because now you actually get to see this live audience, rocking back with your music. So congratulations with that. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, dude, and
Yeah.
have fun at Paramore.
Thanks. Oh yeah, thanks. Yeah, that's next week. That's gonna be awesome. Got pit tickets, so
Nice.
yes. We
Awesome.
love
Well,
it
you
there
guys
more.
be sure to check out Lemorne debut album Forever is out now. Thanks for watching here on Front Row Live.